All right, this is Jason Thompson of Mercy Products and Research, and Casey Larson of P51 Products, and we're at AMTC 2014 in Nashville, Tennessee, and we're taking advantage of this rare opportunity to get together to kind of go over some things that we've been talking about a lot here at the show. And as you can see from you guys watching previous videos, this is a traction splint trainer. Traction splint trainer is made by a company called Simulades. Allows us to actually demonstrate traction splinting with the actual use of actually watching a reduction of a displaced fracture or a simulated displaced fracture, and then we kind of understand the effects and talk a little more about on the lower portions of that extremity. So one of the things we want Casey's to do now is kind of walk us through the actual process of what we've been looking at, is trying to accomplish traction with, or actually doing splinting with traction and using only the actual above the knee, and doing an application where we just place the splint just above the patella, with the assumption that we have an intact distal femoral head. And we'll talk about vascular compromise and what we're really trying to avoid. One of the things I want to go over on this thing, is I always say, is that if in the event that you guys have beliefs or understandings that are different than what we're presenting here, we welcome you to have that conversation with us. We're open to all that. You know, that's how we grow as practitioners. So some of the things I'm going to talk about, we want to talk about, like, you know, the three things we're going to be talking about with regards to using traction is the restoration of pulse, sensation, and limb length. And then again, it's not just about pain management. Good pain management is a consequence of good medical care. You know, we're going to talk about some things to avoid fat emboli syndrome, compartment syndrome, avoidance of a hypovolemic, hemorrhagic shock, hemorrhagic control, reduction of rehab time, you know, establishing tamponade, avoiding neuropathy, avoiding ischemia, and then, you know, the big difference is really going to the med ward, ortho ward, instead of going to the unit. And then, you know, we'll get into the disputes and arguments about traction time and length of traction, and how many hours or days will you keep somebody in traction. So, all right, so we're going to use this right now. We're going to go over and just kind of do the actual implementation of traction itself. Awesome. So if you want to show us, like, the new modified way of using the anchor harness just above at the knee, or just above the patella, that'll be pretty cool. Awesome.
All right, Jason, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to take advantage of some Coflex here and use that to provide extra level of skin traction, and then also just to protect the skin so that you know, we're not damaging their skin. So we're just going to start with an initial wrap. Give ourselves a nice little base layer here to work with. There we go. Alright, so we have that in place. Doesn't need to be terribly snug. So we're going to take our modified anchor harness, go below the knee, and we're going to want this position on the lateral aspect of the leg. We're going to wrap it around the leg.
Okay.
Come through the D-rings.
All right, so we're going through the double Ds.
Yep. We're going to go through.
Okay.
We're going to snug this up a little bit. We're going to come through and then under the distal pouch that you're going to be using when you insert your pole. All
right, so one complete loop through the double Ds, underneath the pouch assembly.
Yep. Back around.
Okay.
And then back into the double Ds. Spread them, and then go through the last one. So we're still positioned on the lateral aspect. I'm just going to go ahead and snug that down. As you can see, we've got a nice snug, snug point.
That's like the other day, I basically almost pulled my bicep out trying to pull that thing down. So, but one of the things here, Casey, and I think it's really cool that you've done, is you know, now with actually having that 2-ply system, we now avoid actually having the double Ds in contact with the skin.
Right.
So it makes it a lot more comfortable.
Absolutely.
So you're not only getting improved skin traction, but you're actually getting benefits in patient comfort too.
Yep.
And also avoidance of, you know, developing a sore area or some type of pressure sore. So that's really cool.
Absolutely. So we're going to go ahead. The assembly is the same from the rest of your videos, or the application, excuse me. So just go ahead behind the knee, just work it up into the groin. And again, now we're going to go through the double Ds, spread them, and then we're going to tighten this down. Again, thinking lateral aspect, because this is the area that the pole is going to sit in. So
right, and it's also important to understand too at this point, I mean, you know, this is the ideal position of the leg, as we know that it's not always going to be always going to be in this position,
it's completely adaptable to the different conditions.
Exactly, and that's what I was going to stress is one of the big things, great things about the Mustang, is that we're not really limited to those ultra rigid poles. You know, we actually have some flexibility in this pole, which allows us to allow the leg through its normal function to kind of pull itself back into position.
Absolutely.
So that's cool.
All right, so we're going to go through the pouch. What I like to do, and I find that works the best, is when you size your pole to have the double folded over side up at the traction assembly.
Okay, so
and so then you're just inserting one pole segment.
Okay, so fold it over at the proximal end of the pole section.
Seat it in. Come down here. Seat it in. You can just snug this up a little bit. Take our trusty quick cravats. Use the introducers, pull them through. We'll go ahead and secure this one. And like the point you made on your other videos, make sure that you just make your knot right over the top of that pole.
You know, and I think this is probably a good time too to kind of reinforce what we're trying to accomplish here, is using those quick cravats materials that you guys have built for us.
Yes.
That, you know, we're really just putting these things on to make sure we're keeping the pole, or the splint, if you will, at this point, it's nice and tight against the leg.
Exactly. It's just, you know, another layer of security.
Now, if our end user said, well, we want to go ahead and just wrap that twice around there, they can do that.
Oh,
and it's not going to cause a problem. So it's only going to be better, right?
We got, we got, you know, hey, we can actually do that here. Figure out which end I got to pull.
Those introducers are really nice.
I know they do add a big benefit to getting purchase into the. So there we wrapped it twice, snug it down, and again we're just right over the top of that pole.
Okay.
Perfect.
Excellent.
All right, we're up to doing traction.
Okay.
All right.
So we've already, so obviously at this point we just kind of reinforce it, because we know not everybody knows as much as we think they should know.
Right.
And everybody can always learn more, right?
Absolutely.
It's kind of going over good habits and development of good habits. One of the things that we really have to stress, and this came up how many times today, is that we're just finding providers are just neglecting to do just their simple skills.
Yes.
Everything that we've all learned in basic AMTC programs, right? Baselines. You know, how is it that you're doing a traction split in the first place? You got to make sure that you're doing good baselines. How do you know whether you've had any benefit to the patient?
Right.
So it's important to make sure we're going and doing really good, strong neurovascular checks. You know, what do we have? Good pulse? Do we have good sensory? What motor? And all that kind of stuff, and we just got to make sure we do it. So, and that's one of the things in the videos. I'm just trying so hard to like make sure that we always start that, and we can't make the assumption anymore with people, because they don't. People forget bad habits get developed, and now's the time to be reinforced. So,
and one thing I'm going to do, just so that you can actually see the extension of the leg, I'm just going to slide this quick cravat up so that you can actually see that I'm achieving traction with this simulate trainer. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start applying traction.
Okay. Wow.
And this is set for a 250-pound patient. Went ahead, obviously applied a significant amount of traction that's going to provide them the adequate traction.
Yeah, and I'm not making sure that people can see it, but so like right now, if you see the actual space, so the idea here obviously is, you know, when I should have probably put it a little bit closer before as Casey's doing it, but we'll repeat that here in a second just so you can see it. But for those who are watching this video, you can see now how where the actual simulated fracture is here. So we have both ends of that femur.
Right. So I'll go ahead and release it and you'll be able to see it retract. So I'm just going to lift up on the D-ring and let it go back in.
Wow, look at that.
All right.
And then again, we're just going to kind of repeat too. One of the things I want to talk about, always repeating this stuff, is understanding the vascular structures, right?
Right.
Understanding those nutrient feeders and everything else that are actually feeding the bone and feeding the muscles around there. You know, we talk about, you know, actually trying to develop tamponade and actually reduce bleeding. It doesn't necessarily have to be a major vessel. We're learning a lot of these little feeders can actually be the source of a lot of this blood flow. So, you know, just getting these things pinched up in there and getting them twisted around can actually be a big source of the actual
blood loss.
The blood loss. And so, wow, okay. So everybody sees here, this is all the way fed up in here.
Yep.
All right, now I'll be a little closer now so you kind of do it.
All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll pull this again.
And you're not like you're not straining. You're not about to have a heart attack or anything.
No, gosh, no. Another little nice thing is you can just take this back around and just tie it on itself, just to prevent any inadvertent loss of traction.
Right.
If somehow, you know, you're carrying them out, you're out in the environment, the wilderness, and you know everything gets caught as you're just, you know, trying to get the evacuation done. This just ties this up, prevents this D-ring from getting inadvertently pulled, and then you lost your traction and may have not recognized it.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And I guess one of the big things we have to do, and we keep hearing this over and over again, is the fact that on these things, people are just, and I keep saying it, it's just they're intimidated by the traction, period. And you know, we're getting ready. We're gonna push so hard to get rid of this whole percentage of body weight stuff, and really just understanding just the general, you know, how long, if I still have two legs, right? And I can compare them. I mean, if I have obvious shortening, right? Obviously, if you can see this, that now I'm going to take that measurement and say, okay, I'm actually, you know, I'm reduced. My shortening is about 1.5 to 2 inches. So I can actually come over here and really kind of as an idea know, well, I need to go that long. And then what we're finding too, and we're actually being, you know, kind of the feedback we're getting from the trauma surgeons and ER docs is really to kind of, you know, not be so afraid of actually going a little bit further than you think you might need to.
Right.
With the understanding that number one is, you know, it's better to be a little bit too far than it is to be not far. I mean, we want to make sure that we're effective in our traction in the sense that we've actually accomplished reduction. Right. Because in a lot of cases that we've pulled traction, but we haven't completely reduced the fracture. And then we know that all the materials and all the traction splints, they have some settling to some degree. So we overshoot a little bit on the traction with the understanding that there will be some additional shortening. But like you said, we can go back in just do the simple undoing of your loop and do some more adjustments and just pull some more traction.
Absolutely.
Go back in and throw that in place. And be done with it, right?
One thing I want to draw your attention to is you see this isn't going to move. I mean, it's staying positioned in the place that we want it, in the place that we need it.
Right.
And you know, if there is any ligament damage or any damage below the knee, you know, we're protecting the ligaments. Or previously where you couldn't apply traction because it was contraindicated, you still have that ability to do the best for that patient. Right, and
obviously without giving away their identities, you know, we've learned a lot in the last 2 days from our friends, who you know, are putting this stuff into use.
Absolutely.
And the value that this takes to environments where, you know, they may be sitting on a patient for long periods of time.
Absolutely.
And you know, transport to a definitive care location is delayed for multiple reasons, because but so we this has been incredible, Casey, and it's been fantastic that this has come that far. I mean, and you hear it over and over every day. It's like you feel like you kind of like win Olympics, and I'm sure you've got to feel like that. So it's anyway, this is great, and thanks again as always.
Appreciate it, man.
So cool. So anyway, so everybody will have this. If any questions, you can let me know. My email address is jasont, jasont@epandr.com, and my cell phone number 610-357-3226. Our corporate number is 330-673-5003, and we welcome any questions, comments, criticisms, whatever it is. Just bring it to our attention and let us deal with it. And thank you very much, and I look forward to learning more with you guys. So, all right, see you.